NWSL.
This one's off.
Charlie, I think we're live.
Ooh, we're live. Welcome to Call It What You Want. I'm your host, Charlie Davies. We got three former U.S. internationals. I'm joined by legends, icons of the game in this country. First up, Brian McBride leading the line. Welcome to the show. And Tony Meola, the ultimate goalkeeper. You may know him from his mullet days, backing up the U.S. in the inaugural World Cup on U.S. soil, 1994. Tony Meola. Man, both guests on Kicking It. So, all right, the U.S. got the job done, 2-0. What's your instant reaction, Tony?
First reaction is first game of the tournament, 3 points, a win and a shutout. It's hard to argue, right, in a major competition. And from there, we kind of start breaking down little plays and things that maybe could have gotten better. I think the one thing that probably stands out, and no better than you two guys to talk on it, is the finishing. Created chances. It's interesting, the life of a forward, right? And again, you guys know this. Sometimes you don't get a lot of chances like Balogun and you find the back of the net. Then sometimes you get a bunch of chances like Ricardo Pepi and you don't find the back of the net, But so there's two ways, I suppose, you can look at it. And I'd be interested to hear from you guys when you have a game like either of those two guys, right? And because forwards get paid to score goals in the end, how you come out thinking about it. But all in all, I think got to be thrilled with the result. It's a result-oriented business. It's a tournament. Will goal differential in the end maybe play a part in this? That might, and you can look back at this, but I like to start from the U.S. team.
Brian, I can't say that I ever remember you coming off the bench, so I feel like you only had one perspective, being Balogun the starter. I had both. What did you think about both Pepi and Balogun in this game, and just your overall thoughts on the U.S.'s performance on the night?
Yeah, Charlie, that was you probably weren't born when I was coming off the bench for the national team.
Which explains why I don't remember ever seeing it.
No, you were born. You was like 2 or 3. And there was later on in my career too. But, I think that the one thing for a forward when you're missing chances, you get frustrated. You saw Pepi after the second one. He was holding his head quite a bit. And you just got to get it out of your head, because the one thing that stands out is you're getting those opportunities. And, 2 clear-cut opportunities, 2 wonderful balls played into him. But the times you have to make sure that when you get that out of your head is when they're not clear-cut chances, and you're focused on not worrying about making it perfect. Now, going to the Balogun side of it, he scores his goal. It's a well-taken goal. Certainly very happy. And then you saw when Timothy Weah was down the right-hand side and Timmy goes for the shot, when if he crosses it, he's got this tap in. And those are the times when you just score a goal, you're like, I'm going to get another one right here. But he went for the shot. So you're like, oh, you get a little frustrated. All of that is normal things that happen, as you know, Charlie. I think for me, the biggest issue was first half when we get our goal early. We then start being really sloppy with our passing. I mean, when we were passing from deep, so Richards and even Ream, it was a little off. And those little passes that were missed were the opportunities that when we did connect those, you turn and you put them really under pressure by driving, because the pace that we had, the athleticism we had, and the ability for our players to engage a defender created all these different opportunities. So happy with the result. Could we have gotten more? For sure.
Absolutely.
Now, Tony, talking back to the goal differential, it could come down to Uruguay, because if we tie Uruguay, then that may become an issue and we may finish second. But certainly happy they got the result.
And I just want to refresh the kind of the episode for everybody. We're now live on the Golazo Network, so we're coming into you. We're live on YouTube as well. In the chat, I can see the chat's buzzing. Even my brother's in the chat. He said, Yunus Musah looked real good, covered a lot of space and defended well. Yes, it was good to see Yunus Musah come on at halftime for Tyler Adams, but I was also more pleased to see Tyler Adams come in, start, and get those minutes under his belt. And Tony, Brian, we talked about building him up for the penultimate game, right? And because you got Uruguay, you expect to get out of the group, and so he's good to go. You know, if he has to play 90, which most likely he's going to have to play 90 against most likely potentially Colombia or Brazil, then we need Tyler Adams on the pitch. But to kind of go off of what you said, Brian, I think from Balogun's perspective, and you know, he's ultimately the starting number 9 that we all, you know, kind of gifted that position to. Everyone thought he would be the answer, and it really hasn't, I think, gone according to plan in his mind. It hasn't been smooth. He's had some good moments. I go back to the Nations League final where he scored against Canada, but not enough, nowhere near enough for his potential and for basically what the U.S. men's national team needs to get over the top, right? To get over the hump. But you know, what struck me early, and I know it struck Greg Berhalter, is he did the rabona on the sideline. You know, he finally gets on the ball. He does a couple of nifty moves. He creates some space for himself, gets the end line, tries the rabona, and the thing goes out for a goal kick. And Greg turned around and looked at Mikey Veras and said, what did he just do? And Mikey's like, he tried the rabona. You could read the lips. It was so obvious. And Greg's like, what? Why did he do that? And Mikey's like, I don't know. That's something you don't do unless you've scored 2 or 3 goals, because the other team, if I'm Bolivia, you go, you guys disrespecting us like that this early in the game? You think you're just going to roll us over? And you could tell they did take offense to it, because it got a little bit more chippy after that, because they're like, you're not doing, this isn't Maradonas and rainbows and flicks, and this is going to be an easy game. And
Charlie, they were chippy from the get-go, and that was definitely a tactic.
Yeah, but I think this was
maybe a little more vindictive, is what you're saying.
Bit.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you know, he was trying to find himself. You know, obviously he's trying to prove that he's the guy and he's confident. But I think you got to let that come to you when you start scoring goals, and then everything starts to move. But you know, he got his goal, and the whole time once Christian played that ball to him, I'm like, it's 1v1, go. You know, you just got to go beat your man. And he went left, and obviously he's not left-footed dominantly, but the defender gave it to him. He took it, and he had a beautiful finish to the far post. So I think from that standpoint, I'm glad that he scored, because as a striker, you need to get goals to get your confidence. I know you can do all the other little things to start build yourself up so that when you get that moment in front of goal, you finish, but still need more. I think it's a step in the right direction. And then from the Pepe standpoint, he's pissed off. I want to play. And I think he's in his head, because I've been there before. You want to score so bad because you know that's probably the only way that you're going to get more minutes. The more goals you score, the more of a message you send, and the more pressure you put on Greg, the more pressure you put on Balogun, and he's hurting himself.
And I think that second miss is because of the first miss, because he misses the contact and he basically opens his foot up too much, just comes off. So the second one, he wants to make more contact, and that's trying too hard. All he needs to do is just lift it a tiny bit anywhere. And, you know, credit to goalkeeper, made himself big. Second save was even better, and then pushed it away. But yeah, that's someone that's trying to make sure he scores when let it come to you. I mean, not let it come to you. You still had to make the movements and get the opportunities, and he did that, which, you know, part of me says that's a good thing for a center forward, but the finishing it's got to be cleaner.
Tony, I'm curious. Matt Turner gets a clean sheet. He had a stinker, a Reggie Blinker in the first game against Colombia in the tune-up. Against Brazil, 11 saves, kind of redeems himself in a way, right, to get the confidence back in himself and in the team, and starts off Copa America with a clean sheet. How are you feeling about his performance?
I'm trying to think. I've had a Stinka before. I don't know if I had the other. What was the other thing you said?
Reggie
What was
Blinka.
terminology that you used?
That's the same thing, Tone. Don't let him throw you off, buddy.
Is it? I wasn't sure that I ever had one of those, but I guess I did along the way. Yeah, look, I said right from the start, win in a shutout. What else could you ask for, right? Comfortable night. I'd have to go back and think in a major competition, and I look at two of them in particular: World Cup and the Copa Americas that we've played in. That seemed that I can remember the most comfortable night for a goalkeeper that we've had. And someone might tweet at us and say, or send us a message that there was another game that a goalkeeper was that comfortable in a major tournament, but I don't remember it off the top of my head. So yeah, look, it's a good start. I thought we were fair. I mean, there were a couple moments where we were actually disorganized on the counterattack, and then we recovered because athletically we were just better than they were. A little bit sloppy out of the back with some passing, which I think we'll clean up. And you can't make those mistakes against Uruguay in particular. I don't know that you can make those mistakes against Panama because I think that they could make you pay for it. But look, I'll never argue with a win in a shutout. There's just still more in it. Back to the forward thing. When listening to you two guys talk about this, it just makes me think a little bit. And I'm just replaying. We haven't had a chance to watch this again, but Balogun wasn't really that involved in the match. A couple times he had some hold-up play and some balls he laid off in the first half, but in deeper areas, which are not goal dangerous. And I thought Pepe was way more goal dangerous, but obviously we go back to the result. And I wonder at what point, if that kind of trends a little bit, do you say, okay, do I go with the guy that's getting chances, or do I go with the guy that has scored a goal who really hasn't scored a goal in quite some time? So I don't know if Greg, I don't know how they'll think about this. I still think Balogun starts the next game, assuming that he's fit and all that stuff, and he came out of this game good. But it just makes me think. But yeah, look, there's moments we can pick. The funny one for me is the whole restart. Looking at the coach and all of that stuff. I'm like, are we really just looking at the restart coach because we played the 1-2 because Bolivia didn't want to defend it and Christian hit the ball in the upper corner? Like, I don't know how much they're paying that guy, but I can tell you I could set that one up myself, but anyway, good. We got a restart goal. We got all that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny. I don't care. I'm glad we scored a goal, but I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, you could be somebody off the street. You could be Pep Guardiola. It doesn't take much to come up with that short corner play. I love the live chat. I always go to the live chat. I'm seeing comments left and right flying. There are some people who thought Gio Reyna was disappointing tonight. There were some people who thought Weston McKennie was disappointing tonight. What are your thoughts on those two players in particular?
I think Gio started out pretty strong, and then they just started hackfest. And with Gio then lying a little bit deeper, he really didn't have many opportunities to be able to make that special pass. There was a couple times he connected with Christian, I thought was nice. But all in all, Gio was never in the spots that you would hope he'd be in to allow him make that penetrating pass. Because, let's be honest, Bolivia was pretty wide open. I mean, they basically played with a back four and had, a six sitting right in front, and everybody else was forward until someone was beat. Then they'd come back and foul. So it's tough to judge Gio on the game. It wasn't his best performance. I'll agree with you that. I thought Weston came into the game a little bit more in the second half. Yunus sort of frees that up because when Yunus gets the ball, he turns, and it's not comical, but it's really exciting to see just a midfielder engage him and think he's got him. And Yunus is already like, I'm way past you. And when he gets by, you see that power. That next thing is that decisive pass. And on Ricardo's and on Pepe's first chance, it was Yunus tried to make that through ball, and it got blocked, but it came right back to him. Makes a good decision to send it out to Anthony Robinson, and that's when the ball comes in. But that ability for Yunus to just like say, you know what, I know you're trying to press us, but I'll bounce right off you, turn you, and I'm gone. So Weston, I thought had an okay game too, but came into it a little bit more when he had a little bit more space in the second half.
Tony, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, the three of us were on a show a week or so ago, and we were talking about Yunus Musah and this ability to kind of break the press with a dribble, right? He's the one guy that can do it for us, and he did it 2 or 3 times in this match. And
but then the pass after,
he sees that, right? He sees that next layer, and he sees some green, and he's like, okay, I'm going to dribble this guy, I'm going to spin this guy, and it's always really tight. And then he's running at you, and I think that's really when he's most dangerous. And then to be able to pick a pass, and that's kind of next level for him. I don't know that Yunus is ever going to be a guy that's going to be on the score sheet. I know we kind of want more goals and assists out of him. I don't know that he's going to be that guy, and hopefully he turns into that guy. The other thing that stuck out in that space, the ability of Christian to recognize the middle of the field, especially when the ball's on the opposite side of the field. And when he comes in and sneaks in the pocket, and everything's happening on the right-hand side of the field in the build-up, and he finds that space. It actually happened for the Balogun goal, but when I see him week in and week out, and so many people talk about him starting in the middle of the field. That's where they want him to play, is the true number 10. I think he's actually more dangerous when he finds that space in there, and he can kind of exploit it when, you take your eye off him for a second. But you look at a couple of substitution appearances for Greg, right? Musah was really good in the game. I thought Johnny was silently really good in the game as well. Just clogging up areas, broke up 2 plays, high up the field.
Tony,
missed chances, but he got chances, right?
Hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break. I love what you said about Yunus Musah and Johnny Cardoso, because I thought they did come in and play really solid. But when we come back from our break, we'll finish what you had said there, and we're going to give player ratings. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
We need your sports news anywhere.
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
Welcome back to Call It What You Want. I'm joined by U.S. international legends Tony Meola, Brian McBride, and Tony, I know you were talking about some of the players that really impressed you and coming off the bench, Yunus Musah, Johnny Cardoso, even the movement of Ricardo Pepi. But what else would you like to add?
Yeah, I thought those are important performances for us, especially given Johnny's position and Yunus' position. If we have to go with them, if Tyler Adams can't go, we know you mentioned he hopefully can go 90 minutes by the time we get to the knockout rounds, but who knows, right? We don't know how his body's going to react. So we have to have some plan B to this whole thing. So it's good to see those 2 guys give a performance. Christian, I thought, for me, was the man of the match. Christian Gio, in and out of it a little bit. I don't know how you want to do your ratings. Weston, I thought, better in the second half, as Brian said, than the first half. Anthony Robinson, and I thought Joe Scally was good. I don't know how you rate the center backs tonight. I don't really know how you rate Matt Turner in this one.
How about I take the lead, Tony?
Balogun standpoint, what is it?
And you follow. I'll take the lead, Tony, and I'll set the tone.
Let's go, Charlie.
I think you're going to come in and then you could give a real solid grade given what I kind of put in front of you. So it's 1 through 10. 10 being, you were absolutely sensational, as Nigel Reo-Coker would say. But yeah, I mean, these ratings, it's the first match in the Copa America against a poor team, a team that you're expected to be. I think they're going to finish at the bottom of the group.
Charlotte, we might need to hold on 1 sec. We're not back on Galazzo Network, because I'm sure people want to hear there. So let's.
Oh yeah, we got
let's-
45 seconds. Yeah, I know. I'm giving
I don't want you to ruin it. I don't want you giving it out
I'm not
early.
gonna ruin it. Come on. I have Des in my ear, but I will say, from the YouTube comments, I get a good sense of what people are feeling right now. I think it's expected. No one was, I guess,
overwhelmed
by this win. Yes, yeah. It wasn't underwhelming, but it's almost like, we were expected to beat Bolivia. Probably should have been 4-0 at the very least. But hey, it's a positive win. It's a clean sheet, 2-0. And now we're back on Golazo Network.
Nice.
So now we can get into our ratings, our player ratings. And Tony wasn't sure how we were going to do this. How tough are we going to be on these ratings? It's 1 to 10, 10 being absolutely sensational from the words of Nigel Reo-Coker. Basically, you were untouchable or unplayable. So I'll start it off. Matt Turner against the Bolivia side that wouldn't even finish in the top 5, 6 in CONCACAF 7. I'm going to give him a 6.5. And a 6.5 is because he got the clean sheet, but it's more about his distribution. He was not as sharp on his long balls or his accuracy. I think he still is a little bit unsure with the ball at his feet. But we both know, I know, Tony, you know this better than anyone, he kept the ball from going in the back of the net. So, which is your main responsibility, especially in a game like this where you are dominating. And, they had these half chances, these heroic shots in their mind, trying to get one past Matt Turner. But for me, it wasn't the most commanding performance from Matt, even though couldn't really do too much.
Do we want to go
I was going to say
position by position?
We'll go position by position.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah, I was going to say a 7 for Matt Turner. That's what came to mind. And because he did
goalkeeper union,
goalkeeping things right. No. I say he did the goalkeeping things right. He got a shutout, but the 3 points come off because a ball kicked out of play, another one up the middle that he shanked that actually went to Weston. So 6.57, I'm good with whatever you want to give him there.
Okay. I like that. Before I finish out the rest of the field players, Brian, you might as well jump in there. What are you giving Matt Turner?
Yeah, I gave Matt a 6, and that's because he did what he should do. There wasn't any time when he was really challenged. He didn't have to make any spectacular saves. Came out for maybe one ball, but his distribution was lacking. I mean, he mainly overhit balls to wingers. And listen, I understand the field's definitely not near as wide. And it could be really soft, right? So you're getting under the ball a little bit more. I get all that. So 6 is not a bad rating for me. I think that because of the things that he needed to do, he did, and the things that we know he's not necessarily his strong suit, he didn't do very well. I gave him a 6. All
right. I think we're basically all on the same level right there with Matt Turner. All right, so I'll finish it out now. Joe Scally, I gave him a 6. Joe Scally, like we have always talked about before, and in the first half, primarily, I think I counted every pass went backwards. Every pass was a negative pass, and like he said, he's not an attacking fullback. He's not a Serginho Dest. He is who he is. He's a traditional right back, like he told Stu Holden before the match, and that's who he is. But the problem for me is that wasn't who the U.S. were. They had options on the right side and the left side, and I think Timothy Weah does a pretty good job of being active in the attacking half down the right side. But in terms of being a little bit more unpredictable, I think that's where Joe Scally still needs to grow. And he took a couple more risks in the second half, but it was still pretty safe. I went 6 for Chris Richards. I actually thought he didn't have a great night, but 6 because he still used his athleticism to kind of put out the fires. I gave Tim Ream a 6.5 because I thought he was a little bit better, obviously, with the ball at his feet. He's the one that the first half, he had 6 passes into the final third, more so than anyone else actually on the team. So he's trying to play forward. They go through him to build out of the back. And then Anthony Robinson, I give him an 8. I thought he was very good on the night. He could have been a little bit better with his service, but in terms of influence, in terms of using his athleticism and good positioning and timing of his runs, good tackles, I gave Anthony Robinson an 8. Tyler Adams, 45 minutes. It's tough to give a good grade at 45. I give him a 7. I still think he was easing himself into it, but there was one brilliant ball diagonal he played to Timothy Weah, who dribbled down the right and then crossed it to the near post for Balogun, who just missed the tap in. But I really liked how he was just commanding the guys. Weston McKennie is 6.5. He just seemed like he was hiding a little bit off tonight. He grew within the game. I thought he got better in the second half, but still not the Weston that we need, I think, to be able to advance in this tournament. And then Gio Reyna, I think, like you guys said, I thought he was pretty good, but not close to Balogun, not higher up the pitch. But given that, I still thought he was good. So I give him a 7. I mean, he was still getting hacked left and right. Christian Pulisic, 8.5, man of the match. I thought he was really put a stamp on the match. And then Tim Weah, 8. I thought he was active as hell, causing problems left and right, using his pace to his advantage. And then we got 7.5 or for Balogun because he got his goal. And I think that's in the end what we need. Go ahead, take it away.
Who's taking?
Go ahead, Brian. I know you're ready.
Right, you got it. Yeah, definitely. I gave a 6 for Scally. Did his job, right? Defensively, nothing special going forward. Worked hard. Was able to get in physically when he needed to. I gave Chris Richards a 5.5. I thought he wasn't challenged very much defensively, which we expected, but his passing out of the back was really poor, and he struggled with that. Had one good pass in the second half that it was diagonally to I think it was Anthony Robinson. But other than that, when Chris got the ball, it didn't feel like he was at his best. So I gave him a 5.5. I gave Tim Ream a 6. I thought there was a period between the 10th and 30th minute that he sort of wasn't his normal self of playing, line breaking balls. As soon as the 30th minute hit, though, he hit some nice passes. So I gave him the extra 0.5. I thought Anthony Robinson was good. I gave him a 7. Certainly a threat, and that combination with Pulisic on the sideline on the left side is something that as they continue to play in these tournaments, it's only going to get better. We saw a few times where Anthony Robinson was ahead of Christian, and Christian went inside and sort of inverted himself, and you could see Bolivia just like, what is going on? And those little manipulations are going to be really effective for us as we go on. Tyler Adams, I gave him a 6.5. I thought, you saw the passion, the leadership that he brings. His passing was a tiny bit off at certain times. He tried to play a ball at the Scally that,
you tough with your ratings, Brian. Damn.
Yeah, I'm just being honest because I know what these guys can do. I know what these guys can do. Weston and Gio, I gave 6.5s also. I thought that there wasn't one standout thing that either of those two did. Certainly, like I said, Weston got better in the second half. And the one thing I'll say that we saw from Weston today was when Bolivia was getting into players, Weston's like, all right, you want to play that game? I can give you some too.
For that.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I'll get to Eunice in a second. I thought Timothy Weah was good. I gave him a 7. Really dangerous, and you could see the lack of pace in Bolivia's wingers, and we exploited it. Timothy did it extremely well. I gave Christian Pulisic, same thing, 8.5. I thought he was excellent. Just the ability now that we see him riding tackles and not being affected by opponents kicking him all the time. This, Charlie. When you get kicked as a forward and you go down and you complain and all that, you're like, oh. Unless you're really hurt, it gives the defender all the mental power. Like I can get to you. I can kick you as much as I want, and I know you're going to complain to the referee. But if you pop right back up, they're like, "Oh, damn, I'm going to have to deal with this all match." And I gave Florian a 7, and I thought Florian was way more involved. Certainly, again, it's like Bolivia, but he got plenty of balls played up to him. He held some of them well. Some of them bounced off him a little too hard. But, we need him holding those balls and connecting. And there was quite a few where he dropped it to Weston, or even when Christian came in, and it was really effective to us just spray the ball out wide.
You know what, Brian, I was going to say, did you guys notice right to start off the game, Christian went to Balogun right away. And I was like, they're looking for each other right away. They want to establish that chemistry early in the match, connect. And I thought that was really powerful because Christian's the best player on the team. He is the guy. So if the guy is making an effort to activate you, that's what empowers you as a striker. That gives you confidence. And I think that really helped Balogun throughout the match. I mean, especially to start the game, it felt like everyone was trying to find him. And ultimately he got his goal, but he probably should have had a couple more. Tony, we gave you the blueprint. Now you run with it. Where are you going with this? Are you going to be soft? Are you going to give us, the hammer?
I tell you what, I realize you guys don't agree on anything, so that's good. I went Matt Turner. I told you 7 for the reasons I gave you before. Joe Scally, I gave him a 6.5 because even though I'm not expecting him to get forward. So what I need him to do is be really solid defensively. So that's what I went. Chris Richards, same thing as Brian. I went 5.5. I thought he was poor with his passing in this game. Tim Ream, steady 6.5. Anthony Robinson for me was a 7.5. Tyler Adams, I'm stuck between a 6 and a 6.5 for Tyler Adams. Still, I get it. He's coming back. Just if I'm going to grade him on what he did, I suppose the effort that he put in, 45 minutes, the way he went about his business, I'll go 6.5 there. Weston, a 6.0, just wasn't engaged enough in the game for me. Gio Reyna, a 7, only because he was able to, when he got engaged in the game, he was able to draw some fouls for us, and he was able to frustrate the opponent. And I think those things, as you're talking about, means a lot. With Brian, I went 7.5 for Timothy Weah because I think he recognized he had an advantage speed-wise, and we exploited that. Christian, for me, was the player of the match, 8.5. And Flo, I went 7.5. Look, Charlie, I told you in the last broadcast when it was just you and I, what was the last thing I said? I said, I want Flo to score. We need Flo to score. We need him to score. Like, I want to see him get on the score sheet, and he did tonight. So that's the Nine's number one job. You guys know that. So I went 7.5 for him.
So we all agreed Christian Pulisic, man of the match, at 8.5, right? So I can live with that. All right. Now let's get to the substitutes. We'll go one by one. So I'll give the substitute and give a grade, then you give the grade, then you give the grade, and then we'll go to the next guy. So let's start off with Yunus Musah. I'm going to go 7. Where are you going with Yunus Musah?
Yeah, I've got a 7 too. And
okay,
it's like, gosh, the amount of power and just sheer ability is so impressive. And he's young still. He that last pass, or even that opening pass to someone else to make the last pass, is going to come. We saw it on the rebound. I talked about the pass out to Anthony Robinson, and he'll understand when do I need to try and thread a needle, or when do I make the one that's going to be the next pass. So I gave him a 7. I thought he was
Tony?
Infallible defensively.
45 minutes, 25 for 27 passing. That's 93%. 6 recovers, 5 duels won out of 7, 2 tackles won. In Milan, they call that sette mezzo. 7.5, Charlie.
7.5. Okay. That's not bad. Ricardo Pepi. I went 6.5.
Yeah, I had a 6 for Ricardo, and it's probably too harsh. I probably should be right there with you, Charlie, because his movement was excellent. And as I said earlier in the show, when you're a striker and you come on and you're trying to find the game, it's really difficult. So the fact that he was able to find lanes and get himself in great spots, but unable to finish, that's why I brought the score down. But I'm changing it. I'm going 6.5 because
Okay.
the movement side of it, I think, is he deserves that.
Tony?
How can I argue with two forward? 6.5.
All right, we got to be quick here. We don't have much time. Just give the grade. We'll go right through it. De La Torre, where are you going?
It was quick.
I'm gonna go 6.
All right. Yeah,
6.
I thought he was good. I'll go 6 also.
And Tony?
Oh, he
Same
might be
here.
frozen.
All right, 6.
All right.
And then Brandon Aronson,
Same.
I said you couldn't give a grade with that amount of time.
Yeah.
All right, Berhalter. Overall grade for Berhalter. I'm going to go 7 because they got the result. They got a clean sheet. You can't argue with the team he picked and the substitutes. I mean, he made a substitute at halftime, so that he had to. I'm going to go 7. You guys?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. You can't fault him for some of the goal opportunities not being put away.
All right.
I thought he set his team up, and the intensity, it was there from the very beginning.
All right.
Go ahead.
We're gonna be right back. Taking a break. On the other side, we're talking about his analyzing Greg Berhalter's tactics. Don't go anywhere.
At CBS Sports Golazo Network, we're bringing you the game.
Madness of Messi arrives!
Breaking down the game
This is unlike anything else in the world.
and changing the game.
Get it all for nil.
That means free.
Whoa.
And all day long.
24/7.
Uruguay.
We're back.
That game's about to start.
Tony
Oh, we
Meola-
lost tone.
Tony will be back. He's back. Yes.
There he
All
is.
right. So Tony, we didn't get your rating for Greg Berhalter. What do you got?
Yeah, I heard you guys 7. I'll go 7. Look, won the game, and the substitutes he made came in and did a job for him. So that's all we can really ask.
Okay, so now let's get into the tactics of this match. We all spoke, I think, very vividly on our distaste for the way that the team played against Uruguay and the tactics that were used in that game against Uruguay, and what will he do against Brazil? Probably too late to change the formation and change the player rotations, but they brought everything that they were missing in the Uruguay game, so that kind of made up for players out of position, players not playing at their best. So given that, we knew he was going to roll out this 4-3-3. We kind of knew everyone that was going to play outside of Tyler Adams. I don't think we knew that he could be fit enough to play 45 minutes, which is a great sign. Still looked a little rusty. I think we can all agree. But ultimately, do you feel that this team played a little bit different? I think they played on the front foot. I think they knew they were much more athletic than Bolivia, so I think that helps. You can take those risks. But in your mind, what did you think? Go ahead, Brian.
Listen, I think what was obvious to us was in the 2 lead-up games that Greg had his system, had his players that he wanted to try and find that rhythm together to get used to playing, and that's going to continue on through this competition unless there's an injury. So no real surprises. I thought, the biggest thing for me when you get into that first match of a big tournament is the players have to be ready from the very beginning. And at times we've gotten caught out, and that was not the case here. The players were definitely focused. The ability to come out and get a beautiful goal from Christian, but be on the front foot and always turning Bolivia around is what you want to see. So you can't blame anything in that sense. Certainly after we scored the goal, there was a little let off, or passing got sloppy. We weren't able to really connect in the midfield. And then the 30th minute hit, and we were able to start, really causing problems.
Brian, I think that's a perfect analysis of what happened. And I want to welcome everybody back to the Golazo Network. We're wrapping things up here. Thank you for joining the show. You can continue with us on YouTube on the Call It What You Want CBS Golazo channel. But I think we broke down the game, and I think we were pretty fair. I think Brian was a little bit more tougher than us. But, hey, it is what it is. It's been awesome to do this show while doing it on YouTube Live. The chats have been awesome. So everybody watching on Golazo Network, switch over to YouTube, and we'll continue the conversation. Thanks for joining. Have a great night. Now we're back to Call It What You Want on YouTube. So Tony, piggybacking off of Brian, what are your thoughts on the tactics? Did you see anything different? Are you more hopeful that this is the right way to go throughout the group, or is this kind of we played a bad team? It was always, no matter what formation we played, it was going to work out. Same thing with Panama, and the real test is, will he do something different against a top nation like Uruguay in the last group stage match?
Well, I think we've seen over the last 2 weeks or so that these are the tactics that Greg is married to, right? And it's going to be a 4-3-3, and how you slice up Weston and Gio and positioning. If I could get, I do like the relationship on the left hand side. I think between Anthony Robinson, Gio hangs out a little bit more on the left, and Christian, there's good coordination. I would, of the two more advanced midfielders in Weston and Gio, I'd like to see Gio still more in the attacking part of the field. So I just wonder that if you inherently just start in a 4-2-3-1 and make Gio the 10, does that change the mentality of how Gio plays? What it will do is take him a little bit further away from Christian and ruin that relationship, or I shouldn't say ruin it, would change that relationship a little bit on the left-hand side of the field. I guess overall, I'm happy, got what I wanted out of it with regards to sort of an extension of the Brazil game and improving a little bit more. And hopefully in this tournament, we just continue to take those types of steps. But all in all, I'd like to just see Gio a little bit higher up the field. And I know he gets frustrated sometimes where he doesn't get the ball and he wants to come back. We saw it against Mexico in the finals of Nations League. But all in all, you can't argue with 2-0. Can't argue with the shutout. I don't know that we're going to see a big change in tactics. Maybe a tweak somewhere in the midfield. And again, a lot of this depends on Tyler Adams and availability and all that stuff. So we'll see. But no major changes from what we've seen.
I want to put this on both of you guys. I'll start off with Brian. We know how gifted Yunus Musah is, right? We can all say that in terms of quality, he is top 3 in this U.S. men's national team player pool. He is a top 3 player given his quality. No one has his dribbling ability outside of maybe Christian Pulisic, and that's debatable in those tight spaces and how shifty he is to be able to break out of midfield under pressure. I'm under immense pressure, might I add. But maybe his distribution, especially in the attacking third, is where you can question him. But is there a way that Greg Berhalter could fit a Yunus Musah, a Tyler Adams, a Weston McKennie, and a Gio Reyna on the field at the same time to get the most out of this team? Because we always say managers have to figure out a way to get their best players on the pitch. And we know that the strength of this team is in the midfield. That's where all the depth is. We're talking about Johnny Cardoso, who can't even get a look, who's playing every week in Real Betis in La Liga and doing extremely well. We have Luca de la Torre, who plays in La Liga and has done a pretty good job in not even getting a sniff. And those are on the back end. So how could Greg, and if you were in Greg's shoes, how could you get the most out of this group?
Well, I can answer that, but I want to come back to the Johnny Cardoso side of things. And I think Johnny Cardoso is very good with the ball at his feet, but the pace of his play has to speed up to help this team. He's able to hold the ball in tight spaces, but it's not where it turns into something that we actually can create from. So for me, Johnny Cardoso has to start speeding up his play. But going back to answer your question, the answer is putting Timothy Weah right back. And what you do there is you give up some defensive liability. And you have this possible time when Timothy Weah makes his overlap and that right back position is left alone. Now, we've seen Tyler Adams and even Yunus Musah be able to cover that. So that's your sort of, way if you want to fit this in and you want the midfield of Adams, Musah, and McKennie, you stick Gio out wide right, and you can invert him to come inside, and he's a little bit higher, and you've got Timothy Weah running down that line. And that's really the only way that I see that you could have all three of them on the field at the same time.
Tony?
Yeah, that's it. And I see suggestions all the time of Yunus Musah as a right back. Yunus Musah is not a right back. He filled in as a right back when he had to in game. He's not a right back. I saw it in Milan. It's just not his position. So unless we play with three in the back and make him a wing back, maybe that can work. But as four in the back, he's not a right back. So that Brian hit the nail on the head. You've got to.
McBrizzle,
that's the only way you can do it.
You got a lot of people in the chat saying, make him coach now. We want McBrizzle to be the USMNT head coach. Sign him up. You got 2 assistants ready to go. What else do you need?
This is all. It's so easy to talk about. You know damn well, Charlie. It's so easy to hey, this little piece works here and there. And when it gets on the field, the execution and the chance you take, especially in a big competition, right? I can understand why Greg's not doing this.
But why not take
again?
those risks
You've always
against the Bolivia. If there's ever a chance to take those risks, you're playing such an inferior opponent. To see how it goes, Brian.
First game of the tournament, Charlie. You need to win that game. Charlie. That is against your easiest opponent. You need to win this game. And if they come out flat and Bolivia hits us with a counter or a set piece goal, and then they bunker in, we've seen it before. Jamaica did it to us. It's not the right time. Could we have done it in the lead up? Yes. Can we do it in the games that aren't necessarily going to be as difficult in Nation League games? Yes. Now that's not going to be a real competition, but you can start building that understanding. So, okay, thank you very much. I'm not going to be the head coach, but it's definitely sorry, assistants. Nope, not happening.
Okay, Tony.
Didn't we do it in Nations? Didn't we do it in Nations League against Jamaica second half? But I think Weston McKennie. I'm trying to think back. I think Weston went to right back in the second half. Came right out at halftime, if I'm not mistaken, and we left Timothy Weah up the field. I don't think Weston's the answer.
Was that when Serginho got kicked? Was that when Serginho got the red card? Is that what? Because he was on the left side, and then we had to move. Oh, it was different? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Tony.
Yeah. So Serginho had his red card was down in Trinidad when he lost his marbles for a couple minutes. But Weston's not the answer there either. But I'm with you. I'm with Charlie here. If we're going to try it, why not try it against Bolivia? Look, only because I imagine that we thought we were going to have more possession against Bolivia than we probably will have in most of the games. We might have as much against Panama, but as we advance further down the line, I think it becomes less possession for our team, or it starts to even out a little bit. And if you have to use it at some point, you use it today, or you tried today, you tried against Panama. So if we need it down the road, we don't feel like it's a desperate move where we're now all of a sudden kind of making it up on the fly, So look, I'm okay that he didn't use it, but the question was, how do you get those guys on the field? Charlie put to us, and that's the way you do it.
Tony, the thing is for me is it's not a first-time thing for Timothy Weah. He played a full club season in Liga at right back and left back. So what risks do you think? And I go back to the first Nations League where he came on as an outside back to help Tim Ream, because Tim Ream was in those 1v1 situations with Chucky Lozano and Diego Lainez, and everyone was kind of like, oh boy, this is going to be ugly. So we know the work ethic he has. We've seen it with Juve playing in that right wing back spot. Those are the type of players that you're saying it's not that big of a risk, but we can still get him bombing forward, and it probably gives Gio Reyna more options, and he's closer to Balogun, he's closer to goal. So I would have liked to see him roll that out, especially because we know what Joe Scally is. And to be honest, this is when you can take those risks, because you can get out of position, and Bolivia has no pace. Everything was a Hail Mary if they got in possession in the attacking half. So for me, I just would have liked to see a little bit more in that regard. But hey, Panama, Uruguay, we get a good look at what Panama and Uruguay look like tonight. And then we have to take care of business against a familiar opponent in Panama the next game. But the third game, that's going to be, I think we're going to ask a lot of questions. Does Greg roll out his first choice if, let's say you got 2 points, you going through regardless, you're going to rest some guys. Is this a game to rest some guys? Is this a game to, try and get a draw and say, hey, we got everything we need in terms of goal differential? Or do you just play your best team, you go for it, you try and send a message to Uruguay? If you get first place, you get first place. You're playing Brazil or Colombia.
Yeah, Charlie, you play your best team throughout. And the reason I say that, and I'm not saying to do that in a World Cup, this is the last real competition. And I'm not even talking about real big tournament. I'm talking about real competition we are going to have before the World Cup. We don't go through qualifying. There's not going to be that extra bit of pressure of playing away from home. Our friendlies that we play away from home aren't going to have a real matter, right? So you're not going to have that pressure. So for me, Greg needs to handle this like a World Cup. Like, I'm going to see who can handle playing, when I certainly take players off when you have a lead and give them rest. But my starting lineup is going to be my best starting lineup, barring injury, because what you need to see in this tournament will give you a better understanding when the World Cup comes.
Do you see the same thing, Tony? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Brian. Minus any guys that have knocks or like a Tyler Adams, who maybe you give an extended rest, he skips a game and he's going to be available and healthy for that fourth game. Just for all the reasons Brian said, and also it just gives you more of an opportunity to find more rhythm. You guys know, the more you play together, the more you find some rhythm, and that's the way I think Greg's going to approach it. This is really important for Greg. This is still really, really important for him. As much as it's important for this group, it's important for Greg too. Greg is, I get he divides opinion. I understand all of that. And I get there's some people that want him fired yesterday, and there's some people that want to give him a chance and see how this goes. Like, I understand where everyone sits with Greg. And I appreciate, the whole spectrum of opinions. But Greg's still a growing coach, right? He's not the finished product, and he needs these moments too, as much as the players need these moments. So I'm guessing that those guys, Bri, you would know better than any of us, those guys are going back and evaluating themselves as much as they're evaluating all of these players in the group. But yeah, in game 3, when we get there, and we're doing this with the assumption that we're already through to the knockout rounds, is I think you play the best team minus anybody that's got any issues that you can give an extra rest to.
All right, my question to you guys, Dan Kane in the comments. Shout out to Dan Kane, because I always see him on our Call What You Want YouTube comments. He says, don't you protect Weston for Uruguay, with the yellow card? Do you rest him against Panama so he's good to go, or do you just play him, and if he gets a yellow, he misses Uruguay? By the way, Weston wasn't his sharpest, so is this a time to throw in a Eunice? Or do you ride him out again and see how it goes?
Tone, I feel like I've been jumping first, so you go ahead, man.
Well, first off, you got to get to the second round, right? And now you have your opportunity to do it. You have your opportunity. I think you got to go for it against Panama. You'd ask Weston to play smart, right? You don't know what's going to happen in the game. You can't ask him to pull out of a tackle, but this happens all the time in world football. It happens in competitions. I didn't look at the rules, but I'm assuming that yellow cards are eliminated after the first round, right? So, yeah, I just think you got a chance against Panama to solidify getting to the next round. That's your first mission in these competitions. Get to the knockout rounds. You already know the two opponents, or it's going to be one of those two teams. There's really not going to be a surprise in that group. So, and get yourself prepared for Uruguay. Use it for finding some rhythm, and now you're playing tougher competition. You're playing one of the best teams in the tournament, and then you're playing do or die after that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this team could rest Weston, but also if you're being completely honest, and you're evaluating Weston today, you could say it wasn't perfect. you're our guy, but it wasn't perfect today. Maybe I'm going to give you a break. But I just don't see it happen. I see Weston in the lineup, and you ask him to, be smart with like throwing the ball away or kicking the ball away or arguing with the ref, which he's been known to do. The other stuff, you got to live with all the tackles. You live with all that stuff.
The crazy thing is that wasn't a yellow card that he got. It was a clean challenge.
Yeah.
So I don't see him getting a yellow for dissent or throwing the ball or kicking the ball. He's just unlucky with that. There's another question from Andis Brown here. Any chance he plays Haji at left wing and moves Pulisic to right wing?
So I'll finish a little answer on the Weston McKennie side of it. So for me, I wouldn't rest Weston McKennie, or I would not start Weston McKennie regardless of his cards, because again, this is something where as players you have to learn. You have to understand what kind of tackles you can get in, how hard it is, and the risk you take. Almost like once you get around the penalty area, all right, I'm not going to go in and make that tackle. So if it's going to get you a yellow, you've got to learn to not do that. If he gets a yellow, okay, we find a different solution. To Tony's point, we do have other people that can step in, especially not in big games the way Weston does. He's a big game player for us completely. So the goal and the hopeful thing I have for us is to come out and go 2-up against Panama in the first half, really look solid defensively, and Greg can make some changes and rest some of those players. So when we go into Uruguay, you have the people with yellow cards still possibly getting a second yellow and being out of the next round in the knockout stage. But this is all part of the process of understanding. Now, coming back to you, Haji right and the left. Yeah, I think we could see Haji come in for a Christian if we have that 2-goal lead against Panama. Other than that, no. Christian's going to stay on the field. The way he's playing right now, you can see he's desperate to get on the ball. And when he gets on the ball, he's so effective. And you don't want to take that away. Last thing you want to do is disrupt any of the flow that he has right now.
Well said, both of you guys. At this point, I think it's just wishful thinking when we mentioned Timothy Weah at right back or left back. I remember running up to the World Cup when we're kind of struggling for who's going to be up top. I was like, throw Timothy Weah at the 9. I would have liked to see him. He's got a great father who could have given him some tips, at playing the 9. I think just opening up the space, using his pace, maybe that could have been something, because it felt in that Holland game when Josh Sargent went down, that's the move to make there. So I fast forward it to where we are now, and it's, will Greg take those risks, those player swaps that maybe people didn't foresee or foreshadow? But for me, I think, at some points you got to take those risks. So I'm hoping that we'll see Timothy Weah starting at right back deeper in this competition when you need more quality players on the pitch. And again, when you're playing Uruguay, Brazil, or Colombia, as we all hope they continue to progress, you need those players who can help you in whether it's transition, possession, beating players on the dribble. So we'll see. But we're starting to wrap things up. Tony, I'll start with you. Final thoughts on the night, final thoughts on this U.S. side and Greg Berhalter and what we have to look forward to against Panama.
Good result. Get a win and a shutout in the first game of a major competition. For me, you can really never argue with that. It wasn't a great Bolivia side. I just hope that maybe we don't ruse some of the misses with goal differential. But you put yourself in a position to get to the second round after 2 games against an opponent that you should beat in Panama. So I think all in all, I feel pretty good with the position that we're in right now.
And Brian, final thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Tony. I think that the best part about us coming out of this match is there was things we did well. And when you go over video, you can emphasize that. And it's not because the team was inferior. It was because the ideas and the connections and the speed of play was where it needs to be. On the flip side, there's also times where we didn't do things well. So we can use that in the video to make sure that everything that you're positive about you also understand there's more to do. And as this tournament goes along, you're going to get punished for some of the mistakes. And Tony, you touched on it in it might have been in the A block or the B block, the first block or the second block. When our passing gets poor out of the back and we get picked off, Bolivia is not going to make us pay. Panama, they're a little bit more dangerous on the counterattack. And we saw down in Panama, if we give the ball up in the wrong position, they can make us pay. And I guarantee you, Uruguay, Brazil, Colombia, we do that, we are going to be praying that they don't take advantage of it. So, again, all in all, some good stuff to build on and some stuff to work on.
I think we can all agree that they start off the tournament on the right foot, set the tone in terms of just a clean sheet, scoring a couple goals, creating opportunities, which I think we can all appreciate. If this game ended 2-0 and they only had 2 chances and they scored those 2 chances and it was boring and they really struggled, I think this whole conversation would be a lot different. They create a lot of chances. They just weren't clinical. They didn't have that nice final touch in front of goal. This was easily a 4-5-0 game. So I think we're all optimistic. And seeing Uruguay now against Panama, we saw Uruguay just got the first goal of the match in the 16th minute. A banger. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I think Panama are just trying to survive, and that plays right into Uruguay's hands. But this was an awesome show. It was the first for Call It What You Want on Golazo Network, at the same time on YouTube. I love the comments. Keep them coming. We love the engagement. And until next time, see you later.